Oh, hot damn. What up? Come on. All right, let's see if this works. First time is a charm, first time lucky. Pow, 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 pow. This thing in focus? The problem with using the camera that I use on commercials for the live stream is that every single time that I come in here, I have to reset up everything, which does it defeat the purpose of a studio if it takes me an hour to set all this stuff up? Exciting news for me. Hello, by the way. Hello. Welcome to the live stream. I will say the same spiel that I say every time because we have new members inside of Patreon this week. And I will say that if this is your first live stream, the easiest spot to talk to me while this thing is happening, which is the whole point of the live stream, is to use the YouTube chat. If you're on Patreon, you click on the little YouTube logo on the video. That should take you to the YouTube page where you can then enter away your chat information. And then I, with a push of a button, see them there. See the little chats just here. I can see everybody talking about where they're from. Everybody here. What do we got? Let's see. This way we can say hello to people. We got JP, John Paul Summers in the house. Former guest. One of the guests on the podcast. What do they call them? Alumni? Alumni of the Wandering DP podcast. We got We Are the Colors. We Are the Colors? I'm assuming that's the Shot Callers from Orange County. What up? Ben Yonker, my man. Indianapolis. Hooey. Okay. We got other people in here. The Ocean State. Neil, I don't even know what that is. But I'm going to guess it's in the middle of the country. Bangkok, Andrew. Over there in the dark arts, I see. Okay, what do we got? Ohio, everybody else, and blah, blah, blah. Well, welcome to the live stream. This is it. This is the format. That's where you do the chatting if you're new to this. Neil, yeah, see, that's one of those ones. I think we have talked about Rhode Island on the live stream before. Yeah, I completely forget. So welcome, ladies and gentlemen. Hopefully your cinematography worlds are going well. I will tell you this. There is some news coming in this live stream, not to tease you about things, but there are changes afoot. Changes, in fact, that I'm hoping, at least the plan is, changes that I think you'll be able to help me do something that I've never seen before, that I wish was around when I was starting out. I think, not even starting out, I wish it was around right now so that I could watch. But we're going to try and build this thing with your help. So what else is happening? This is posed to be starting from, what is it? We are now today, Thursday in Australia. Starting from next Tuesday until, basically until Christmas, is poised to be the busiest months of my cinematography career. In November, I was looking yesterday at my calendar. November has got 5 shoots. 5 shoots in a month. 2 of which I'm grading. And then December, there is a 10-day shoot. The first 2 weeks. 10 days of commercials. Just one shoot, but 10 days. Which, I don't know if you speak commercial, but what that means is we are going to have a good Christmas. That's what that means. You son of a bitch. Okay. Not only that, but the news is, which is not fit to print yet, but we'll get to the whole breakdown of everything happening here. But your boy is shooting a feature film. That's it. No more blaming the agency for shitty creative. No more allowing people to tell me how dark to make it. This is it. A feature has come. And I think it's good. I mean, I said yes. I think it's good, which is fun for me. But what's more fun for you is that in my contract, knowing that I do this thing every single week, and that I do not only this, but the podcast, The podcast is going to stay essentially the same. What's going to change is the Patreon, and the Patreon, with some cooperation from the film, is going to allow me to share everything as it unfolds. So we're going to be doing official pre-production is 6 weeks. So I don't know what form it's going to take. But essentially, I don't really know what I'm doing, to be honest. I mean, I know what I'm doing when it comes to the cinematography stuff. But this will be the first time that I'm doing, well, really the second time. If you're not familiar, a lot of you will remember last year that I got fired from I didn't get fired. I got told, after being on a feature for a while and participating in the pre-production and doing lots of stuff, I basically got shit-canned from a movie that I still think is going to be a really good movie, and it was like a cinematographer's dream movie. I got shit-canned for that for a lot of different reasons. But this one, I wasn't really able to share anything from that, and still sort of not. But this one is, I can share everything. Basically anything that I feel like it, we can talk about, and I can do it in real time. So as I'm shitting the bed on this movie, hopefully you'll be able to follow along. Now, I don't know what form that's going to take, because a lot of the gear that I'm using here is going to be on the movie. All of it, actually, is going to be on the movie, which is a topic for another discussion, which is rates for features, which I don't know if it's because I'm a first-time DP, but I am, when it comes to business, I'm a businessman. I like, I don't know, I've got it fairly good in the commercial world, and we've talked about how much money you can make in the commercial world and how comfy it is, and how if you build up a base of directors that you like to work with and people that you like to work with, that it can be a fantastic job. This is just a step in a different direction. It's something that, I don't know. I don't know if it's been more pressing in my mind since going to Los Angeles and talking to all the directors, the DPs, and directors about, progressing in your career and how to make things last, or if it's just the idea that why not give it a go? See, have I been doing shitty stuff because of other people's, pissing in the soup, or is it me that's terrible? That's another question we're going to find out, whether or not I'm any good, which will be fun. All right, I always like to test myself. But then, how did I start this? I started talking about the rates. Jesus Christ, get ready, folks. I'm going to have, let me tell you, the rates are not the same when you're in this world. So the budget, I think the budget is between $4 and $5 million, which is not a lot, but it's just under the threshold. I don't know, should I explain this now, or should we get into this breakdown? I haven't even looked at the questions here today, I'm sorry. Let's see. We'll go back into the questions. LA, JP, fucking lol. 10-day commercial equals living the dream. Yes, it does, JP. It does mean living the dream in terms of Christmas time. All right, Croatia in the house. Thank you on all the congratulations. Yes, it's exciting. It's actually quite strange, but I'm excited. Definitely excited about the possibilities. Let's see. Ricardo, thanks for pushing this Patreon group growth, man. Looking forward to the next few months and what I'm going to learn. That's you and me both, Ricardo, because basically this is no longer, it was never really me. Hopefully it doesn't come off like me teaching. Hopefully it comes off like me sharing what is going on. And this is a legitimate case. There is going to be lots of stuff. And I would imagine now, if you've been a fan of the podcast, if you've seen the stuff that I do on the podcast, you know the kind of stuff that I like, what I'm going for, and how a lot of the times the end product doesn't marry up to what I would do. So this is a chance for me to see whether or not that actually happens, how to stay involved. It'll be, I'll probably be talking less about the frames, although they're letting me share the frames, which is unheard of, right? I've never heard of, well, I definitely know that's a no-no on commercials, let alone features. But the budget is just small enough, and the talent involved, there is a little bit of, basically I'm not allowed to show one of the talent, the main star, because he's contracted out to a number of studios. So I can't show any of his frames because he's essentially owned by a production company or a studio in America. But I can't show everything else. So I can show frames the day that I get them in dailies. I can hop on Patreon and say, fuck, I'm shitting the bed here. Like, this is what we got to do. Now, next time, I don't have enough time because blah, blah, blah. This is, I don't have enough people. I should have ordered more people here. And basically, I'm just going to keep a running journal of what I should have done, right? You'll get it the day. I don't know how quickly I'm going to be able to do it. We're shooting, what is it, 6 weeks of 6-day weeks, and then 2 weeks of pickups, so 8 weeks in total. So it's a lot of stuff. I don't know how much I'll be able to do. It probably won't be, it definitely won't be in video form because I won't be able to, except maybe the sharing of the frames. Maybe I'll just put them in Patreon. Again, I'm just fleshing this stuff out now as I'm talking, thinking about how I'm going to be able to structure this to make it beneficial for you and for me, right? I'll probably look back 3 weeks into the project and have a listen and go, Jesus, man, I didn't know what the fuck I was doing that first day in terms of, I don't know. I don't even know what I don't even know what I'm not going to know. All I know is that I'm going to try my best to get it on here. So there probably will be less about the artsy fartsy stuff and more about just the running of a whole machine, because there's, just different responsibilities that I'm going to have and different conversations with different people because there is no agency. It's me, the director, the producer. I got the job. It took, 3 interviews? It took 3 interviews, 3 talking to people. I had this presentation, which I can now share with you. I can share my pitch, which I should probably do that so you get an idea of what I'm thinking for the movie. And when I do share the pitch, I don't have it on this computer. Bummer. So I put together a treatment. A lot of you will be familiar with the treatment format. I've shared it. And it actually came in handy because this feature had a cinematographer, much more experienced than myself, who was an ASC member, and ACS, sorry, not ASC, like fucking, Chivo's over here shooting this feature. ACS, which is significantly less competitive to get in. You basically sign your name and you can get into the ACS, which is why I'm anti the organization, but still merit to be had there. And he got pulled into a different direction because the studio that owns the main talent or owns the rights to the main talent required that person for another shoot, so they had to push things around, so dates changed. Fast forward to they need to shoot a lot quicker than they had anticipated. That cinematographer's not ready. Bam! Your boy steps in. And so you meet with a producer. You talk about some things, whether or not you're interested. You see whether or not the dates could possibly work for you. Then you switch to, okay, now let's meet the director and see whether or not you two get on. We sit down, I read the script, which actually, truth be told, I didn't read the script when I met with the director. And I didn't read the script when I met with the director, right? This is probably not smart. And this is probably something I would not share on the main podcast to a mass of people. But I didn't read the script at all. I read a few pages. I saw the characters' names so that when the director was talking about it, I would be able to at least follow along with what he was saying. But I didn't do it because, if I'm being honest, it would have been 4 hours out of my time that I didn't have, that I didn't think I was going to get the movie anyway. So there's a lesson in there somewhere, which is read the script if you get one and you're going to go in on a meeting, right? If I had it over, I would probably read the script. But maybe not, because it worked. So sat down and had a meeting with the director. That means going away and coming up with some ideas. Not like what or how are you going to shoot the thing. That wasn't how it was structured. It was just more like, how do you see a few things playing out? Do you have any ideas that just hit you spur of the moment? And this is your one chance, at least the way that I saw it. I got one chance to impress upon the people who are involved in making this decision whether or not I have good taste. Because that's really all they're judging now. They don't know if I can operate a set. They don't know if I can control a crew or if I can manage days or anything like that. They're gonna get that from my past history and the projects that I've worked on, the CV, all the resume, all that sort of shit. All that they're going to be making the decision on now is, am I a bag of shit? or someone that they can get along with? Am I open to ideas? And then, do I have good taste? And does my taste, when I say good taste, does it align with what they see for the movie and whether or not it's feasible and how I would go about it? So in my little treatment, the benefits of having a document like that that's already prepared is that it took me 0 time to make it look nice. It already looks nice in terms of presentation, which is, if we're not fucking around, it's a huge part of the process. If you got something from someone who is going to make something for you, I don't know, I'm trying to think of an example. If you went to a graphic designer's website and their logo looked like shit, you would probably go, I know you're not doing my logo, you're designing something else, but it looks like shit. Anyway, so I already had that thing made up, the treatment document, which most of you have seen. I dropped a few pictures in there. I sent it the very next day. So now it looks like I've gone through this giant amount of work, when in reality I have, 15,000 references that are categorized by night, day, interior, exterior, restaurant, hospital, office, kitchen, bedroom, which I haven't looked at in a year, but I still have it back there. All that work is still valuable. I was able to quickly pull references, things that I liked for matching the sequences. I talked about how I would do it, came up with some ideas, and eventually got the job. So I can't even remember what I was talking about. Talking about feature. What did I do? Oh, talking about how I'm going to structure the Patreon. So the idea is, as I said, I can share frames as they happen. I can share things from the set, the day that we shoot. So finding an easy way to either go live from the set for the day, or to quickly record things and get them up for the day. I don't know. It'll be about finding a workflow to see what is feasible. I mean, in prep, it'll be easy. I'll be able to share location pictures, what I do and don't like, which direction we're going in. I won't be able to share the whole script, but I'll definitely be able to share things that we're thinking about in terms of the script so you can follow along. So basically, you're going to be sidecarring a feature film that doesn't suck. That hopefully, if I'm being honest, leads to, well, who knows? If I don't like doing it, I mean, it is a long-ass time to be away from the family. It'd be nice if it led to other stuff, right? That's usually the path that these things go along. So I'm hoping it doesn't suck, number one, it looks nice, and that it's a fun experience. That's the end goal. And I can't fucking remember what I was talking about. Okay, let's go to, what do we got here? John JP, can you share your rates? Definitely. I definitely can do that. The question is, do we want to lay this stuff all out now, or should we, should I actually structure it so it makes sense? Let's do BTS videos like you did on the River Spot a few months ago. Wit? Yeah, I mean, it really comes down to what sort of time I get outside of the feature to do these things. Like, actually taking the video will be easy. I mean, I structured the deal so I can do anything that I want. And I can share anything that I want, except this one particular actor. I mean, the actor is the whole fucking movie, so they may have gotten me there, but I can share things around that. Okay, I was just about to ask a question about rates, differences before you started talking about it. Yes, Andrew. Okay, Ben. I've heard feature rates can be like 3 to 5K a week. At the bottom, what up, Bill, representing Chibbity Bep, heck yeah. Billy B, Glendale. Okay. So, should we do rates now? Or do you want to look at this video? We're going to let the first 3 people that respond to the live stream in the chat. I don't know if I can see the live feed. Either respond breakdown or rates. Here we go. First 3 people win. Jesus Christ. Rates for the win. Okay. So that was a I see what you guys want the cash. Okay, let's do this. Sorry, whoever's project this was. We've got an hour. I've got 1 hour from now. And it doesn't look like we're going to get to your project. Okay, so rates. I've said it before that commercially in both Los Angeles, well, LA, where I work the majority of the time in the States, Asia, you get a little bit more. Australia is a little bit less. It's anywhere between, maybe nowadays it's probably 3.5 to 5 for the people that I know, the circles that I work with. That's per day for a commercial, for a cinematographer. Everybody does tech scouts and pre-production differently. I do half. So I'll do 50% on tech scout, tech, travel, and whatever else they make you do. Sometimes they'll make you come into like pre-production meetings or something and just completely waste your day. Sometimes that's a harder sell if you're not super busy, and production companies know that. If you go in there and say you want $2,000 to come into a production meeting, some of them are savvy that you probably aren't doing anything else that day. You can say no, but that's sort of the dickhead move. And if you're starting out, that's not really the super friendly move. So that's per day on a commercial. Now, sometimes on commercials, especially if you're going to say, I don't know, you get called to do something in Asia, they will work out a package because it's a lot of money if you factor in travel, pre-production. Then you got days where you're just sitting there because the tech scout will be a few days before the actual shoot, or else the benefit of the tech scout becomes non-existent because you don't have any time to organize gear, you don't have any time to make any changes. The grip and the gaffer, they don't have time to do anything if it's the day before. So normally you'll have days where you're just sitting there, which some people factor those in as travel days if you're away from home. Some people don't. But anyway, they'll package these things into generally 4-day weeks. Sometimes if you're, it depends on in how demand you are, but 5-day weeks. So that'll be on commercial. See, the more days you work, basically, the less that you get paid per day, but you get a giant chunk at the end, which is cool. So features is a different beast. Features is basically 2-day weeks for myself. So what am I doing? I'm doing 8 weeks and getting paid for 16 days. Now, in 8 weeks, I could easily get 16 days of work. And that's, what is that? 8 times 6. So I'm working 48 days and getting paid for 16. So I could get a lot more money doing commercials, which I don't know what the scale is. I mean, this is something that hasn't been on my radar to find out from people. Like as the podcast evolves, like in the first few episodes, I'm asking dipshit questions about things that I no longer have any interest in. Well, now I'll probably change, next round of the podcast in New York, I'll probably change my questions. I'll probably have different things to talk about, different things to negotiate, different things to, anyway, thinking out loud. I don't know if that's normal. I'm going to have to talk to some people. I mean, I did talk to a few cinematographers here in Australia, and just to get the idea and the lay of the land for whether or not this was normal. But it seems to be that 2-day weeks on commercial rates is the standard if you're someone like myself, which means someone who's essentially starting over in features. So that's that, which is not, it's not, that's good, I think. I don't have a boss. Well, I mean, there's a producer, but we're making this thing. I get to do whatever I want of course, with the director. But we get to make this thing with zero. I mean, the whole point is to make this thing good. The whole point is not to sell t-shirts or toothpaste or fucking toilet paper. The whole thing is to make this thing interesting. How interesting can we make this world given the money that we've got And the money for the feature, like I say, it's between $4 and $5 million. It doesn't get you a lot. Over 6 weeks of shooting, it does not get you a lot. We're going to have to mind where we spend the money, and that'll be an integral part of the conversation that we have, is where does the money go? Who do we spend the money on? What can we do without? Is the movie going to be handheld? Is it all going to be Fincher style? Where can we save cash? Which option is better? The schedules that we have to do, how many pages a day are we looking at? Are we going to do 3? It's going to be 4. Who fucking knows? If it's 4 pages a day times 48 shoot days, that's probably, well, we're making Apocalypse Now at that rate. So I don't think it'll be that. Yes, JP, the money, first thing in the contract, everyday techno, everyday an operator. So I'll just be, I won't even be participating in the film. I will just be live podcasting to the Patreon group. That's what they're paying me for. So yeah, so that's the rates. Then on gear, the other thing that this is, again, everybody has their own situation, and everyone is in a spot that, they have different access to tools. And if you live in Los Angeles or if you live in New York and you've got huge rental companies that will provide for you, even if you have, if you're on the other side of this country, if you're in Sydney and you have Panavision there's a lot of support there. They can offer very discounted gear packages for features, especially smaller ones. This one, I just so happen to own every piece of gear that will be going on the shoot. So luckily, what you don't get in commercial, what you don't get in day rates, I'm able to make up for. I'm getting more money out of the gear than I am for myself. So that part's good, because I'm making on the gear side. So the people that say it doesn't pay to own gear, I can tell you that is false, even in the feature world. And I don't know if who knows if this is normal. I mean, I'm literally providing the entire package for this feature. I don't know if I know that's not normal. So don't go out and buy a package of gear and try and get it on a feature. But then the same thing applies there. Like the rate is much less. It's generally a 3-day week on features for the gear. But the one thing is seeing, I forget who it was. Was it Rachel Morrison? Or was it, what's the other lady's name who is very good, not called Rachel Morrison, that also directs? Her name is, the sad part is I actually met this lady, and we were going to get her on the podcast. What is the name of the woman that's not Rachel Morrison? Yes, Reed. Pa, 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 pa. She shot a feature on Lomos. She shot a feature on Lomo Anamorphics, which I don't know, they're interesting. Could I shoot a whole feature on square front anamorphics? Could it be possible? I think the VFX guys would shit themselves once they saw the 35mm. They probably would not be interested. But because I'm providing the gear, now this is sort of the bummer of providing the gear. I've got 3 lens choices. We've got your standards, which we got your Cooke Panchros. Okay, that could look different. That could be interesting. Or we get a little fucking crazy and we go Lomos. What are we going to do? I know what I'm going to pitch for. I'm going to pitch the Lomos for sure. Even though they're a slight pain in the ass. After seeing that Reed Moreno one, I don't know. I like it. I think we can make it look cool. Yeah. Okay. Let's see. What do we got? We got, yes, thank you, everyone. Yes, Reed. Quite popular. Really good stuff, too. Bill, are you getting 3-day weeks on your gear? It's a sort of. I'm getting 2 to 3 days. 2.5, basically. on all the gear, which is awesome. Natalie Kingston shot her last features on Pankrose. I don't know who Natalie Kingston is, but sounds like a good name. And yeah, the Pankrose are an option. The Lomos, there is a bit of VFX. There's not a lot of VFX in the movie, but there is some heavy VFX in some areas. And the Lomos are more difficult to work with. I mean, it depends on how you sell it to people, and depends on how the VFX company feels about it. But you can sometimes use the shittiness of the lens, and when I say shittiness, I mean the parts that are not good. Sometimes you can use that to your benefit in the VFX world. Sometimes it's much harder because the distortions are so random that it makes it difficult for tracking and things. But there's something to be said for, I don't know, to me it just feels like a movie. And that's what we're making. I don't know. Okay, let's do, what do we got? Natalie Kingston. Okay. I will take your word for it, JP. I will take your word that I should hit her up. I will note it. Is she in New York? That would be awesome if she was, because then we could get her on the show next time. Okay. You should hit her up. Bill, got an Amira body on standby. Look out. You know we're looking for BCam, Bill. Anybody wants to make the trip to Australia? Now is your chance. Which actually there is, and not that anyone here would take up this offer, but there is. The camera team is now being assembled, so there is always spots for people who are eager. Okay, she's incredible. You need to check her workout. I will do that, JP. Natalie is awesome, Jay. Where have I been? And I've missed Natalie's work. Is she on Instagram? I should check it out. Okay, where are we shooting? No, we're shooting in... Well, this is one of the reasons why... it's like a perfect storm of things. I probably wouldn't have taken a feature away from home at the moment now, but it's in Western Australia. So it's in Western Australia, if you guys are going to come. Is the actor Guy Pearce? No, it's not Guy Pearce. Guy Pearce is in every single... there's a few guys. There's Hugo Weaving, which is in... If you're in Australia, he's in every single independent movie under $10 million. So, of course, he'll have a part. Hugo Weaving will be in it for sure. No, the actor is actually... I can't actually tell you who the actor is, but I can tell you that the actor is owned by the Marvel Universe. Okay, I have a mini. Oh, JP, you want to come? Yeah, why not? Come down. BCam. No, actually, the thing is, at the moment, they're sort of figuring out what they're going to do with the camera situation. I obviously have, given the amount of time that we have, the size of the crew that we should be getting in, only select scenes will be 2-camera, hopefully. Okay. Cincinnati Jones. Just blink once for yes. No, it's not Guy Pearce, but that's a good guess. Okay, well, that's it. That's all I got for the moment on the feature. Right, it's happening. We'll probably shift so this live stream will continue then. I probably won't mention anything on the big podcast for a while until I know basically how it's going to be structured. But the live stream will go until, let's see, official prep starts December 4th, I think. And then up until Christmas, we get a few weeks break, and then shooting begins in January. So it'll go until Christmas, basically, the live stream. I don't have to put that gear away. Okay, Julian. Hi, Patrick. What's the protocol when you're wanting to work with a director, but you know their regular DP? Kind of feels like I'm trying to snipe other people's work. Any advice is appreciated. You know their regular DP. I don't know. It depends on how small. I mean, you got to be a fairly small market if you're a director and you only work with one cinematographer. You either got to be really high on the scale or you got to be really low on the scale. If you're really low on the scale, everybody's trying to get better, It's just a matter of time before either the director goes or the DP goes. Very rarely do people move up the ladder, which is, because the DP is essentially working maybe commercially at least 5 times more than a director. So you have a DP has got a much, I don't want to say easier time. You've got a lot more shots to move up because you can ascend the ladder much quicker because you have access to so many more chances. Whereas a director, it only takes one project for a director, and they have a lot more control. But it only takes one project for a cinematographer as well. It's just you don't have near as much control of whether or not the project turns out shit. So how do you approach them? I don't know. I mean, how do you approach anybody about working together? We've talked about this so many times. You be a normal person and you talk to someone just like you would talk to them in any social environment. You don't immediately say, hey, hire me. No, you say, hey, how are you? Good. Oh, what are you doing here? Standing next to the water cooler. Man, this place sucks. Or, man, I don't know. You talk about the weather. And then you get along. I don't know. Has anybody ever just randomly pitched a director and it worked? Not that I know. Not that we've heard on the podcast. I don't know. I think I checked the other day. There's like 7 days of me talking to cinematographers recorded. I've never heard of anyone doing it. And it working out. Like I've heard of people, like I've reached out to production companies and said, in a roundabout way, more introducing myself than anything. That didn't work. Never. I mean, it's only ever come through people reaching out to me or me reaching out in a way that is non-spammy and just actually genuine. Like, I like your stuff. Or, hey, that project was really good. And they write back, oh, thanks. And then they come out with another project and you say, hey, that one was really good too. You did a good job with this and this and this. And then they go, oh, thanks for that. I saw this from you. I mean, if someone sends you something nice, you're going to say, well, who the fuck is this random person? And they go, wait, they're in the business too? Look at this. That makes sense. And then all of a sudden, there you go. You have a relationship. John Ross, JP Summers did. Yeah, I mean, maybe it happens. Oh, like, yeah. I don't know. Well, it depends on what JP actually said in the email. Yeah. I mean, surely it's happened before that you would just randomly say in one single email, hey, I mean, it all depends on the situation that you're in. I could see it working. I don't know. I'm sure if Chivo sent out a random email to some shitty production company, you'd probably go, hey, yeah, you're in. But I would just try and be a normal person and build a relationship that way, if that makes any sense. Or just do really good stuff and put it in spots where they're going to see it and play the waiting game. Okay, what do we got? Ooh, 15 minutes. Do we dare even get into this? Should we try? Seeing as how we didn't really get into it at all. Have you noticed that I haven't had to change my battery? Has anybody noticed that? There's been no changing of the block batteries. And that's because I had them freshly reselled. It is now, I've been talking. How long has this thing been going? We've been going 45 minutes. And I've gone down from 26 volts to 24. And 21 volts is the cutoff. So the resell has worked. Somehow I managed to drain the cells in only a single year. So I had them completely reselled. The capacity is much larger. Okay, here we go. Breakdown time, everybody. What we're looking at is now, because it's been so long, I forget this person's name, but somebody shot a short film, and we're going to break it down. Let's see the good things. Let's see the bad things. Okay, so if we're talking about this from a location perspective, this is not the friendliest location. And it's not the friendliest location for a few different reasons. Number one, I mean, it is friendly in the sense that what have we done right on this location scout is we got, what's going on? Draw. pen tool. Use this one. Oh, that's a big brush. Let's go that size. Okay, that's drawing. What we've done right is we got a room where the source that we're going to be lighting from is not in the, well, it is sort of in the, it's sort of in the shot. So this is the source where the light will be coming from. We picked a good angle for the room. We can control the level of highlights in the background because of the way that we're shooting. That is a good thing. Now, would it be nice if the light coming from this direction was actually coming from a window that was off the frame? So like one more down. Why is it so pale? Let's choose a different color here. Let's choose red. And let's go a little bit bigger. That way we can see what the fuck we're doing. Okay. It would be nice, right, if this was just a normal window and it wasn't so hot, and then you could light from, you know, a window that was just out of frame. So you could get a little bit more around here, get a little bit more on them, a little bit better angle on them. That would be an ideal world. But what is hurting us is, yes, everyone's got it, the walls. And it's not even the color of the walls, really. It's the location of the walls relative to the scene. They are parked right up against this wall. There's a little gap there. But then these guys, which we're going to come to see, they're parked right against that wall, which takes away one of our tools, which is depth. How do we make this thing seem more three-dimensional? We're going to use layers of light and contrast to create depth. And that is completely taken away by having walls right on top of things. So that's not great. You can imagine if this was another room and, you know, the wall was back there and you had these lines that were going like this and you could see the ceiling, that it would just make it seem all the more grand. That's not the case here. So what we have done well is we have created some shape here, and we've created some light and dark with the curtains. Right? This is a classic example of why you want to go. Normally you'll see people nowadays, you always go, even though I don't know how many people have these curtains in their houses, but on every job that I've been on for the last maybe 2 years now, this is just the standard for windows. You go heavy curtain that you can use to flag light off, and then you go light sheer, or sometimes more dense shears. But that's just the standard. It doesn't look too out of place. But it's good because then you can do this, right? You can drag out this shadow area just by dragging away these curtains, and it makes gripping quite quick. So that's good that you've done that. And the orientation of the sofas in the room, yeah, this is probably what I would have played as well. The direction of the people who are going to be having this conversation. The hard part is, for this scenario, if you go the other way, so if you go sofa here, you can play a little bit more contrast. You can play a little bit more of an edge on, well, this guy for sure. Maybe not her, but for these two angles, which we're going to look at, you'd be able to play them a lot moodier than you are able to play them here. And I don't mean moodier in a, you know, play it down sense. I mean just more contrast without making it feel flat. Let's see. Questions, white walls, yes. Every location in Thailand has white walls. Bummer. This was the house we had to deal with. Oh, Neil, this is you. Good. Did you tell everybody? Did I miss it in the comments? Did you tell everyone what you shot? And how many people you had? All that sort of stuff. If you tell me that, it'd probably help with the breakdown. Okay. Neil, we wanted a shot with all of the actors in it. Yes? Mission accomplished. Okay. Yeah, I mean, the one quick solution would be wallpaper. But again, it depends on how much access you have to this sort of stuff ahead of time. So we got a lamp coming in through here. It's sort of hitting, I mean, I can't tell what it is out there. I can't imagine if you're on a GH5 with Nikon lenses. Oh, you only got one person? Okay. This is starting to explain things here. Neil, you got one gaffer and you got nobody else? Yeah, I mean, you got an image. That's fucking awesome. Okay, so let's just imagine, though, that we had access to a whole bunch more tools, just for our own sake. There is certainly something going on here with this light. Where is this thing coming from? Judging from the shadow there, it looks like it's coming over here, which means it's coming from out here. That's what it looks like. Now, why it's not hitting her, I'm not sure. She feels, I probably would have run, whatever's happening here, I would have run it the reverse way, which is I would have played her the hottest. Right? I would have taken whatever this is, wherever this light is coming from, which looks like outside, and I would have either pushed it that way and sprayed her more, which doesn't sound good, or I would have come up with a different way to find level onto her. You can make this hotter, right? Because nobody cares about the back of this guy. You can always make the edge hotter, but I probably would have got a little bit more level for the setup in the wide, just to be able to sell our in tight shots. So, you know, what else could you have done here, given the room and the space? Not a whole lot. What you would generally do, if you were in this situation and had a crew and had a little bit of time that you could work with this, is you would probably spray this. I'm going to stop saying spray. You would probably point the light this way and have something separate doing back here. So you'd want different levels. You'd flag that light off so it was not affecting your pattern. And then you would, I'm just thinking off the top of my head, but it would be cool if there was just, if you're going afternoon sun, right? That streak across the room is really what you're looking for. And you sort of get it. You sort of get these little hot spots in here, and then you get him lit up a little bit more. But I would just say probably you'd want more contrast. The white walls definitely are not helping you with the contrast. And then by having more contrast, you're going to have more ability to pick things out that you want people to look at. Here, really the only reason my eye is drawn to Our Lady here, only because she's in pink, and then this little bright area here. These walls really are hosing us. But you can imagine if it was more down in the background, then that gives you more freedom to pick her out and to pick him out, whoever's more important that we need to be looking at the time. So that's what I would do. You light it two different ways. You light the background, you light the slash there. You probably light this with one lamp, but as you get closer to the window, you're going to soften hers, and you're going to leave theirs maybe harsher, just to get different levels of, different qualities of light on the guy versus the girl. And then I'm going to black all in behind here. I'm going to black the ceiling just to create some contrast. And then if that's still not enough, you know, maybe you sneak in a little bit of something for her or a little bit of something for him that's separate, that is controllable. Okay, so we go from this shot to this. Now, I don't know if this is supposed to be the same time. Is this supposed to be the same time, Neil? Is this the same conversation, or is this later? Because I would say that this jump is too large. So you can see if we zoom in. Yeah. I'd say that going from this, which is not bad. I mean, it's not bad on her face. That level of softness, that level of, even contrast. And then you go to this. Now this feels like we've gone too down in the background and too bright here and too dark here, right? We're always going to change the lighting from this shot to this shot. Whoops, I'll go wider because we can, but it can't be so much that it feels like we put a lamp there. And this one, this feels like I feel this thing. I feel a lamp going this way, right from here, which is probably what your two quasars put up. Can't see two shadows in her eyes. Let's see. You got the window there, and then you got this thing. I don't know what that is. But it certainly feels like there's a lamp just out of frame. It's only because the contrast has gone too much. Yeah. Yeah. It feels like if you dim down the light mat, I don't know, maybe, at least half a stop, probably a little bit more, that you wouldn't get near as much punch in those levels of the skin. You could probably play with it more in the grade. But then in here, that's not bad if, relative to this darkness. That's pretty on point. But the color of the light is also changed. This feels a lot cooler than this shot when she's in that shadow, or she's not in direct sun, or she's not in direct light, I should say. And then for the background, it feels like there is, I don't know if that's wash from the light mat, but it doesn't feel like that day is hitting that wall all in a wash, you'd probably want to play with that level to see, you almost got like a half pattern on there. Just whatever's happening over here, you'd want to extend that this way, even if it doesn't make sense, just cheat it around a little bit. And this is a classic example where this line on the sofa, that's all we see in relation to the sofa. So you could take these two pillars, if it worked for your lighting, and you just rotate the sofa that way. Like, twist it around until you get into this background pattern, and then you can manipulate the light from there. You don't have to, that's a much quicker way of getting nice background rather than relighting everything. You can just rotate the sofa because no one will actually see if you're in this shot. As long as this guy's head and her are relative to each other in the frame, they're in the same positions as here, which they are. You've done good there. Like, the composition is what you would want. But, But yeah, it's the lighting that the color change gets me. And then, again, the room, damn it. Like, this color of the sail right behind our skin, and then this skin level to this skin level, we just need a little bit more a variation, or maybe try and throw it out more. I don't know. It just feels very similar, very same. And then it feels quite like almost like interview lighting. It doesn't feel like this is how it would look inside the room. So I would say just try and blend everything a bit more. And you need some variation back here, especially if you're working with white walls. You got to find ways to get contrast in there, whether that's you make this really down and you have a practical that's really low level back there just to add to a highlight. And I know it doesn't really make sense to have something on there for that amount of time, to have, during the day to have a practical on. It doesn't make sense, but you see it all the time because it works. And then, like this, I would try and clean that up, either flag it or net it so it feels less. And then same thing with the shoulder. Like, we talked about taking that down. So I would do that. Okay, this one, this feels better. It feels better with the background because that feels more realistic. And I know that it is hard in a room like this to choose which side to bring the lamp from. And I know you're getting this here, which is why then you bring the light from this side here. But this is where I think I probably would have cheated it the other way. I probably would have kept, you see how down he is? He's down and all flat. I probably would have kept that and gone hot edge all the way around, and then bounced from this way. And yes, of course, that gets you the down shadow on this side and a little bit more exposure. But we're not looking for vast variations, right? Because that would then match. The level that would be coming this way would then match the level coming this way, right? Because you can see you completely gotten rid of that light, which is good, right? Which is not the bad thing to do. It's just then here, rather than you've wrapped this light around more to give us exposure. So you've cheated it that way. I probably would have cheated it the other way and come that way. And then that just gives you, like, you got your down shape here. You've done well there. You got the framing, done well there. It's just that's probably what I would have changed here. But like relative to the, this level of heat relative to the background heat is all pretty good. That's what you would do. The other reason that I would do that other side swap was, even if you get any source, like if you take this lamp that's over here and you just point it this way, it hits this side of his head, it misses him this way, hits your little bounce, or you could put in an active source there to mimic it. You'd get an eye light. You'd get a natural eye light from looking that way, which would really bring him alive, even though he would be more dark. Well, he wouldn't be more dark on this side. There would be a little bit more level, but here would be much more down. You'd get a natural eye light, which would allow you to push the contrast a lot more. So I would say keep it just a little bit more in line with what you're doing here, and just wrap from this wall here. I don't know. To me, you could probably sell that then as it bouncing back here and having it make more sense. So that's that one. But the framing, I mean, the conversation matches. You're shooting into shadow both times. You've set it up here. You just didn't follow through with it in this one. You just sort of changed it up. Okay. Yeah, Neil, I think you could get this way darker. I'm saying this was too bright. I think you get it way darker if you went, more levels of contrast, more variation would allow you to get it darker. Yeah. Okay. Next up, these guys. Now this is that tricky situation of choosing now we're into the thick of it, like where one decision early on then affects every shot moving forward. The orientation of those sofas now is really dictating our light. We are looking directly into this shitty blank white wall, which is obviously not the world's most interesting thing. It also doesn't help our contrast that we're able to get. There's no other way that you could do this unless you played them. Okay, let's think this out loud. So for this angle, if you did in the wide, oops, come on, man. If you did in the wide, you played these guys down, but with an edge here, you could fake a window coming from back here, edge, and then you could do the same thing that we just talked about. The same thing of edging them really, really hard with that light, fucking Bob Richardson style, and then bouncing into them this way. All right, that would probably have taken more people than you have access to. But rather than punching the light that way you're able to get in two variations. Because right now in this setup, with the light in the wide, we're only giving ourselves one light or one source, which is that window. And then, we feel that it's not boringness, but there's a flatness that develops because we don't have the tools to help shape things, because we don't have the ability to create contrast because we haven't set it up in the wide. We haven't thought about, okay, well, how can we get these shots more interesting? Well, we need to pepper in some other source. That's what we need. Through this window, yeah, I mean, that could certainly sell. With the window in the shot, I think you just, you could push something this way, but you just sell it like in the frame. It's already out. You just have it here hitting them. That allows you to then bounce into them, which would take down the general level. It takes off this wash on the wall because you could be a lot more controlled with your bounce than you could be with this big light that you have to light both of these people with. So, yeah. Okay. Let's see. Put the guys on the left side in the wide. Yeah, that was the original Zvonimir. That was what I was saying. In the wide, you just change the orientation of the sofa, and then that helps us get a lot more crunch. Is if you had these guys over here, and then you just faked like this window went on forever, and it covered the back of them, so that when you come around here, you don't have to be looking into a window. You could just sell that window was still there, Just slightly move them down the sofa a little bit. You get another edge there. You get a little bounce there. You get away from this white wall, which means you can add your neg in, which, I mean, I don't know if you've added neg in here, but this guy's face looks a lot darker, probably because you're pointing the light this way. But that would be my advice. Other than, I mean, just even the way that you've done it, I would probably, because you're not seeing where they're looking, I'd probably still pull this sofa out as far as you could get away with. You know, you can see that the wall is there in the wide, but, whoops, if I back up, you can see that it's there, but because they're leaning forward, I don't know, I'd probably cheat this out, like, you know, give yourself a foot or 2 feet away from that wall so they're not right on top of it. I think you can get away with that. You are seeing a little bit there, but I don't know, I'd probably tell this guy, hey, why don't you scoot down a little bit and cover that up. That way we don't see the relation to the wall. Anyway, just a thought. But that's in the situation that you're in, you've sort of boxed yourself into this is the way that you have to light it. This funny mirror. I was thinking more of turning them into the other direction. You want them to look that way? Well, I'm not following. But I imagine what you're saying. You've got an idea. Okay, next shot. What do we got? Okay, here we got person sort of breaking into something. Window, soft light. I don't know. I mean, there's not really much to say about this scene. This looks good. You don't have any sources coming from places where they shouldn't be coming from. Again, with the budget that you've got, I would say that's pretty good. If we had a different budget, you know, just to keep things interesting, this is a big thing that isn't super interesting. Probably makes sense in the story that there should be this big wall in the frame. But if we had lots of tools, this light is nice. It's on him. It's also good, the framing that you've chosen, because you can't see the sources outside. If there are sources outside, there's probably not with the amount of people that you have. But if there were sources, you couldn't see them. And you couldn't see that the windows would be super, super hot. And this would be all down. So you're controlling the contrast and you're controlling the levels through framing, which is good. So good job there. But if we had lots of toys, I'd probably say through whatever this guy's covering up, which looks like a window, I would try and make this bit more interesting. You know, whether that's, again, with a soft sort of slash or just more contrast on it. Try and just make that, and somehow make it more interesting than it is, because it's just a big flat wall. Okay. That's it for that. I mean, this is good down level, you know, like it's dark, but you can still see a little bit. So that's probably the area of the toe that you would want to be playing in, where you can still see something. Doesn't feel like it's pitch black. Always nice to have little bits of interest in there. Okay, now we come to the car stuff, or the night stuff, I should say. And this is a good one because it really is about finding a balance. There's a lot of things that are good in this one. Number one, you've got a good direction of the light, good direction to the camera. So camera here, you're shooting into the shadow, which allows it to feel much more down than it actually is. You've got some sort of faux lamp here, which is hitting our man here. And, you know, it's always the question of how soft is too soft to make them look pretty. And I think this is, you've nailed the nose shadow on our man. I like this one, and I like this one too. So that level of harshness, it's not so far, you know, the light's not too down to where it feels like you've got a light pointing at them, but it's also not so high that, you know, you get some weird shadow on their face or some shitty thing. The other thing is, relative to the background, probably this is the only thing that I'm trying to fix. Relative to the background, the exposure is pretty good, right? Like this feels like it's being lit up by a street light, and this feels like it could be coming, I mean, it's slightly hotter, but it feels like it could be of the same world. The one thing that is hard with night exteriors, and we've talked about this a bunch, is making it look good and making it be realistic is the hard balancing shot. because large swaths of no exposure, no detail, black, generally, in my mind, it just, the last 5% is the hardest part of the image to control. It requires the most skill, and it requires the most amount of people and know-how, is judging, okay, what can we get away with? What's too dense? Because if you overcook it, it just feels a little bit too down. Just a little, just another little street light, just another little something, just any amount of level coming back this way, just to pick this darkness out from, it could just be through the window, just a hint of stuff, and you have it all black wrapped up and flagged off of anything. So it's just give me just a little on the headrest, just a little thing on there. I don't know. That's just the look that I like. Just give you something rather than just having it all black. But I like it. Okay, let's go to the next one. This one. Now, this is where, again, if you had crew, this is like your classic. This is a low budget short film. You need something. And I'm not talking about like, let me see if I turn off I'm not talking about like you need exposure out there. You just need something to contrast what's happening in here. Because it feels like, what's the word? It doesn't feel like how a person sees things. And that's not to say we're trying to match how individuals view the world, but this level of darkness is really limited to this sort of thing, right? Like, just like a highlight, just something, just either like a work light or something out there that doesn't affect the image. It just adds depth. Because these big blotches, they take away from the depth, much like the white wall being right on top of the sofa, people. We want to make it feel bigger and grander and more depth is the word. And I think you could do that with just something, some little highlight. What are we shooting through something? Is this some sort of enclosure? We're in a garage. We're looking out. Are we looking in? I don't know. It feels like it needs more. But the level is good. Like, you got the street lamp, you got this little lamp in the shot. It's on the right side of them. Like, you wouldn't want more on them. It's not about them. It's about filling in the other bits to make it feel. I don't know. Like, for night exterior, I would be happy with that. I'd be like, yeah, that makes sense. This is the level that you would want. For everything else, I would say, okay, well, now how do we get another point of not even interest, just contrast? Because this would feel darker if you had something in there to counteract it with. Even if you had more reflection on this, or if you had a little bit of moon edge on that would make this feel darker, but it feels super bright because you've got darkness everywhere, And I'm thinking now, this sort of color reminds me of like the Prisoners, those night scenes with the very tungsteny warmth from the candles as the people are walking around in Prisoners, or even some of the finale scenes in that movie. There's always just another little pop somewhere in the frame rather than just the point where you should be looking. That moves us into here, and I think we went too far. I think whatever is happening here, this ratio, I think is good, and then we come around here and it feels more lit and it feels more filled in than this one. Like, I think we were onto something, and then we got a little bit what's the word, cautious, or we just overlit. It feels like we could, again, same problem we got into with Our Lady. It feels like this level is too hot relative to the background, and this is too filled in, when in fact we could have made it darker if we had played something else out there. We played another edge out there. We could have then sold that even more here and made this super down. And then we get into the area of, if this is where the guy's going to be looking in the frame, and this is darker, we only see one eye, and it's the far eye, and it's super lit up. We couldn't turn him to get something in there. And in turn, if we couldn't, do we put up something till we just get them a little to camera eye light just there, so that we do get a little ping in the eyes, and then take this way down. That's what I would say there. Again, though, like the choice of angles also is a little bit hard because we're flattening off the wall behind him. Whereas if you just, half step this way, and now you're shooting a little bit more along the wall, that opens up the possibility of just making this be a little bit more contrasty. Yeah, bad judgment call. Rotated the light a tad bit to see the eyes more. Yeah, I mean, it's hard with one lamp, with one light. Exterior night stuff is difficult, but that's what I would say. If you just rotate a little, make it a little bit more depthy here, and depending on what the scene calls for, do you put something in there? That's up to you. But definitely for him, less sourcey, darker in the fill. Like overfill is the low budget, like the quintessential low budget thing. Overfill. And then this one, okay, now we got something back there. That's all it really takes to add a little bit of depth. It would be nice with, obviously, some, I don't know, ambient moon is sort of gone by the wayside, especially in lower budget stuff where it's harder to do. But I always like just a touch of it, touch of ambient moon. But you've got interest back there, which is really all you need. You got, now this level feels a lot more natural than this level, right? Like this is the level that we would have wanted. Whatever level that is, you've done well, this is where it would have been handy to have a light meter. Because you just go, okay, what level are we shooting here? Boom. That's the level that we're shooting here, right? It really does sometimes speed things up and helps things keep consistent, especially if you don't have Q-Take on set or some other way to quickly see what you've done before. Light meters really are the easiest way to match it because your eyes will play tricks on you. So that's what I would say there. This is great level there. And then this shadow feels much more natural. This bit, that darkness feels like that darkness, and it feels like this isn't in that same world. So I would say good job on that particular shot. And that's the end. That's all we got to. All right, folks, and look at that. Beautifully timed. Okay. That's going to do it for this week's live stream. We're going to be... Now, because there's so many jobs coming up in November, I can't promise a live stream every week. So we might be back to podcasts for November. But then in December, as prep starts, I'll have the gear more, and I should be able to do more live streams. Maybe it'll just be... Actually, maybe we can still do the streams. It'll just be no video. It'll just be me talking about other people's work. So, yes, well done, Neil. Thanks for sending in the stuff. Definitely some things that we could work on. But good to see that a lot of the ideas, the framing and the ideas are all there. You're shooting into shadow. You've got those sources in the shot that are playing right, and in tough situations, it's always hard, but you've done well. So good job there. Yeah, that's it for this session. We will see you in the next one and in the podcast. And what is the podcast next week? Oh, the podcast next week is our mining commercial. Shot on Lomos and the XT. And we shot in a whole bunch of different sort of working men environments. And the ad turned out terrible. But the images, I think, were pretty good. So that's it. If you didn't get your project in on this live stream, I didn't even look at all of them. I just go until I see one that we can talk about. So apologies if you have sent in your stuff for the live stream multiple times. I haven't gotten to it. I'm trying, and just keep sending them in. I know there's lots of good stuff out there. It's good to see people commenting. And I know sometimes it's just nice to have other people comment on your work. So hopefully you guys are engaging and looking at the projects that people are sending in, and having that back and forth feedback, whether it's here or in the Facebook group. It's always nice to get feedback from people that aren't going to sugarcoat it for you, or tell you things that aren't true. Okay. What do we got here before I go? Last look. Battery. Still at 24 volts. Suckers. Okay. Not bad, Neil. You need to develop a guest wandering DP. Congrats on the feature. Thank you, Bill. Thanks, Patrick. Yep. See you in the next one. See you next time, Neil. Okay, that's going to do it, everybody. See yous in the next one. Oh, yeah. Thanks, JP. I'm sure we'll chat many times before I set foot on the film. All right. Thanks so much.